Trackhouse and Junior Motorsports strengthen their alliance. Haas also strengthens its alliance with RFK, and bad news for people watching the Truck Series. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, let's get into that Truck Series news, where Kyle Doughton from Athlon Sports caught this tweet from Jamie Little. Those details are all being worked out. Remote production is here to stay, only going to grow. That's the case for multiple sports and network cable channels. Of course, she was answering the question, what percentage of truck and ARCA broadcasts will be in person versus remote studio? And fans for a long time have not wanted this remote booth. They do not like it, and there are several factors to consider as to why fans don't like it. First off is the time delay. No matter how good or how less of a delay you have, there is always some type of delay from the booth figuring out what's going on the track, whether it be what they can see, what they can't see, but there's actually like a physical time delay. I know it's 7 seconds for the TV that we are watching here. I don't know exactly what the delay is for them, but it's always just a little bit off. It's like watching a poorly dubbed movie where the lips are moving and then they start talking. It kind of has that feel to it, so there's that aspect to it. The second issue is the cautions. A lot of times you will have a caution and you don't know what happened, and because the booth only has one TV screen where they can see what's going on, and if a cameraman didn't catch it, the booth doesn't know what's happening, they don't know what's happening, so there is utter confusion because nobody knows why there is a caution, and it just leads to an absolutely very poor product because everybody's like, how come there's a caution? And then maybe 30 or 40 seconds, sometimes a full minute later, you're like, oh, okay, there's a car in the wall over here, how did we miss this? Which goes back to the one screen deal. When you're at the racetrack, you can see the whole track, and as a broadcaster or announcer, you can sort of measure the field and see what's going on. If you see two drivers sort of going at it, you're like, all right, there's a chance we might get a caution over here because these guys are really getting, ramped up and working on each other. They might have a caution. But when you can only see one screen, when you can only see what the cameraman is panning on and focusing on, that's all you can see. You never know what's fixing to possibly happen with these cautions, so it takes that element away from it as well. Which leads right into my next point. It just makes the whole event feel less important. It's like not a priority. Like Fox doesn't feel that this is a priority to get a physical crew at the racetrack. So it makes the truck race feel less important, makes the ARCA race feel less important than it actually is, because obviously Fox doesn't care about it because they're not sending a full crew out there. They'd rather save money or cut costs, however you want to look at it. So it just sort of cheapens, in a way, the entire event because it's not prioritized. And lastly, and I can't emphasize this one enough, even though it seems like nobody cares, the fans hate it. Like, eventually, you're going to lose viewership if enough fans hate it. I know, apparently, I guess NASCAR and Fox don't believe this, but eventually fans will stop watching if you keep putting a subpar product out there. So it's just a matter of time, and if fans stop watching, you're going to stop getting ad revenue, so you're just, in essence, shooting yourself in the foot over the long haul, but I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the matter. Let's move on to something more positive. Trackhouse Racing announced today that drivers Ross Chastain, Shane Van Gisbergen will pilot the number 9 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet with 9 NASCAR Xfinity Series races during the 2025 season. The pair will team with Trackhouse development driver Connor Zilich, who is competing as a rookie for the full season in Junior Motorsports number 88. Junior Motorsports will also field full-time entries for Carson Voppel and returning drivers Sammy Smith and defending champion Justin Allgaier. So before we even get any further into the rest of it, we might as well just throw this out there because this is what a lot of people always go to whenever Junior Motorsports partners with anybody, and obviously they're tightening their partnership or their alliance with Trackhouse here. Is Trackhouse going to help Junior Motorsports get to the Cup Series level? I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there because obviously a lot of people are going to talk about it, so I thought I would just address that here. Who knows, but it is kind of cool that they're getting kind of cozy. Obviously, Justin Marks, a part owner of the Cars Tour, so they're probably in constant communication with Dale Jr., so, for all the people that want to see Junior Motorsports go to Cup, maybe Justin Marks has an avenue for them at some point through a partnership or something like that, but yeah. I don't know anything, but thought I'd throw it out there because obviously a lot of people talk about it whenever stuff like this happens. Chastain will race 5 times beginning March 1st at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, followed by April 5th at Darlington, South Carolina Raceway, May 31st at Nashville Superspeedway, July 19th at Dover, and August 2nd at Iowa Speedway. Van Gisbergen will race 4 times beginning June 14th at the Autodrome Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, July 5th at Chicago Street Race, July 12th at Sonoma, and Watkins Glen is going to be August 9th. So there you go. Also, this is going to be a reconnection for Ross Chastain, who, when he was driving for Spire, drove the Dirty Mo Media number 77 that you see right here. And obviously, he will appreciate getting the extra seat time in the Xfinity Series. All these drivers want as much seat time as possible. Speaking of which, seat time, also Shane Van Gisbergen, who ran the full Xfinity season last year, will get seat time, and he'll also be at all of those road course races. So that will give, Junior Motorsports a great chance to win those road course races. And also, because you've got these 2 drivers pairing with, their other teammate in the 88 over there in Connor Zilic, it gives the 9 car, it makes the 9 car sort of that all-star car that Junior always likes to run. So you're going to have that all-star car. You're going to get a lot of attention on that from weekend to weekend. So it works out for everybody. And obviously, like I said, the Junior and Trackhouse connection strengthens. So we'll see what goes on from there. Also of note, of course, Trackhouse was working with Colleague, and of course, they had the split up over there with Ty Norris and management. Ty Norris now over there with Colleague, and now Trackhouse is working with JRM. So I thought I would touch on that. I don't know if there's anything to it or anything like that. I doubt it, but something of note, I guess you should say. Another group that's strengthening alliance is the Haas Factory team. They're strengthening their alliance with RFK, and we know this because they made some announcements as to who their crew chiefs and competition directors are going to be. Jason Trenchier and Jonathan Toney are going to be working for Sam Mayer and Sheldon Creed, respectively, in the Xfinity Series. Toney, of course, won that championship with Cole Custer in 2023. And Trenchier last year was working with Spire with Chase Purdy, but previously has worked with AJ Allmendinger, where he's got 5 or 6 wins, I want to say, off the top of my head. So he is a good fit there. And on the Xfinity Series side of things, Adam Gravitt, who has sort of been a Haas man for life, he is going to be the competition director. So I shouldn't see any fall off. I think they'll be really good. They've got 2 good drivers. I expect Sam Mayer and I expect Sheldon Creed to make the playoffs. Hopefully Sheldon Creed breaks through and gets that first Xfinity Series win over there. But I think they'll be good on the Xfinity Series side. But the Cup Series side is where I want to focus, because I think it gets a little interesting over there, where they named Nick Sandler as the competition director. Sandler, a former crew chief himself, joins the Haas Factory team from Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, where he began in 2006. During his time underneath Jack Roush, Sandler worked his way through the ranks, initially as a race engineer in the Cup Series before being elevated to the crew chief for Stenhouse for the number 17 team in 2015-2016. Since, he's led all efforts for the engineering department and will be reunited with Aaron Kramer, also formerly at RFK, who was tabbed to lead Cole Custer's Cup team in 2025. And of course, when you pair that with Kramer's quote saying that, we feel like an extra RFK team, there's nothing we ask that they don't give us, it just lets you know that this is probably going to be the best Cup Series opportunity for Cole Custer. And I do expect this Roush Factory team to come out of the gates strong. They should be peak level Stewart-Haas racing, and it won't be, because a lot of people, when it was announced that they were going to be a 1-car team, they were like, oh, we remember the old 1-car Haas Factory team from back in the day before Tony Stewart got there. They weren't very competitive. I think this time around it's going to be very different. They've put a lot of things in place to be very successful, and I think this is going to be a good opportunity for them and their driver, Cole Custer, who of course is no slouch himself. With 15 wins and 119 races in the Xfinity Series, the 2023 champion, and 1 Cup Series win and a Rookie of the Year. So I feel like this is going to be the opportunity for Cole Custer. Hopefully he gets to stay there more than a couple years this time. Beard Motorsports announced today that it plans to qualify for the 2025 Daytona 500 NASCAR Cup Series race at Daytona, Florida International Raceway. Driver Anthony Alfredo will be back behind the wheel of the Beard Motorsports Chevrolet, which will be dressed in the colors of Fortify Building Solutions. So there you go, Dillon Management driver Anthony Alfredo going to be in there, and this brings up a sort of interesting thing where you're going to have somebody that is a high-profile name possibly not make the Daytona 500 with more and more entries coming out. That means somebody like a Jimmy Johnson, somebody like a Martin Truex Jr., or somebody like a Helio Castroneves, who are all attempting this race. If they don't get in on time or if they don't race their way in, one of those really big names could possibly miss the Daytona 500, which makes qualifying interesting, and it's also going to make those heat races interesting. So when qualifying matters, the sport is for the better, and I'm all here for it. So it's going to be really interesting when we get to Daytona, which can't come soon enough. And a few odds and ends before we go here. Jeff Gordon going to be the Grand Marshal for the Chili Bowl here coming up. And Hendrick Motorsports has signed Corey Day to a 30-race deal where he's going to race Xfinity, Trucks, ARCA, and Trans Am. Noah Gragson has Zepp and MillerTech as sponsors. Zepp is going to sponsor 2 events, and MillerTech is going to sponsor 3 events, Michigan, Pocono, and Dover. And Chase Elliott has a 3-race deal with Amazon Prime, which is 3 races per season from 2025, 2026, and runs through 2027. So what's interesting about that, 3 races, that's about how many races Hooters was going to be on the side of the car. So there you go, Amazon Prime is taking away or filling in that gap, however you want to look at it, that Hooters left behind when they were unable to, keep sponsoring Chase Elliott in the 9 car. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made this far, would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. Got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.